It is 7 o'clock, and while I don't have a gavel, I'm going to try to get control of this meeting. It's 7 o'clock. Could we get ready to start here, please? Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, council members, city officials. Welcome to the May 28, 2025 rescheduled regular city council meeting. We're meeting at 26 South Paint Street, Chiillicothe, Ohio. And the first order of business before we start is I want to welcome our newest council member, Kathy Dunn. She's familiar to most of you here in the county, but I just want to welcome her to city council. Now I will ask the clerk to call the attendance roll.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. Bennett?
Here.
Payne?
Here.
Barnes?
Here.
McKeever?
Here.
Dement?
Here.
Preston?
Here.
Dunn?
Here.
Creed?
Here.
I would now ask our newest council member to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, if she would, please. The minutes from the May 12, 2025 regular meeting have been distributed. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections? Hearing none, I'd ask for a motion to approve. Motion by Ms. Payne, second by Mr. McKeever. Clerk will call the roll.
Bennett?
Yes.
Payne?
Yes.
Barnes?
Yes.
McKeever?
Yes.
Dement?
Yes.
Preston?
Yes.
Dunn?
Yes.
Creed?
Yes.
Minutes are approved. We'll now move on to reports of committees. Development Committee, Mr. Dement.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. Development has nothing on tonight's agenda. However, we did hold a committee meeting earlier this evening at 6:45 to discuss the Greater Chiillicothe Ross Film Commission, which we unanimously voted to move forward to the Law Director's office to hopefully be on the next agenda. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Engineering Committee, Mr. McKeever.
Thank you. Thank you, President Shoemaker. Engineering has 3 items on the agenda for tonight. Item number 6, which is an ordinance appropriating $9,000 to purchase additional traffic equipment for the Ohio Department of Transportation Bridge Street project. Number 8, which is an ordinance appropriating $160,000 to complete the salt storage facility project at 415 Rennick Avenue and declaring an emergency. At the appropriate time, I'll be asking to waive the 3-read rule. And the third item is number 14, which is a resolution formally establishing the City of Chiillicothe's non-residential building department pursuant to Section 378110A of the Ohio Revised Code and declaring an emergency. And at that appropriate time, I'll be requesting the 3-read waive the 3-read rule on that one as well. We did have a committee meeting earlier on 25047, which is a zoning recommendation for Planning Commission for 36 North Walnut Street. And we are going to be seeking or scheduling a review session for additional input from the public and also some additional material needed to make a decision. That concludes the report for engineering.
Thank you. Finance and Technology Committee, Mr. Creed.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. We have 4 items on the agenda tonight. First one is item number 13, and that's appropriating $40,000 for furniture at the new maintenance garage. Since we already have people moving into that building, I'm going to ask to waive the 3-read rule on that when appropriate time comes up. Next one is item number 15, and that's a resolution authorizing the appropriation of funds for $7,605 for the Ohio Valley Regional Development Commission, and declare an emergency. And on that one, they need to have that answer back by June 6th, so I will also ask to waive the 3-read rule on that. Next item is item 16. It's an ordinance appropriating $146,032.67 for ODOT for the Western Avenue project that was done. That one can go to the three full reads. And then item 17 is an ordinance appropriating $60,000 for emergency medical services for mutual aid for Scioto Township and other townships around us to come in and provide EMS service when our fire department is not able to cover those calls. Since we do have outstanding bills on that as well, I will ask to waive the 3-read rule on that as well. We also had a committee meeting earlier, committee assignment 25051, and that was an additional $40,000 for indigent burials. That did go through committee, and we'll request legislation on that. And then 25-053, and that is to appropriate $100,000 from general fund for income tax refunds that are higher than what we budgeted for, and that will also move forward for the for legislation. That concludes Finance Committee's report.
Thank you. Human Resources, Ms. Payne.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. We do have one item on the agenda tonight. It's item number 1. It's at the third read. This is an ordinance appropriating $9,520 to cover the cost associated with the city's participation in the Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission's 2025 Local Government Internship Program. At the end of the summer, the city will be reimbursed for this amount of money. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Parks and Rec Committee, Mr. Barnes, but if you have anything to report, I'll be surprised since you just got appointed, but I will let you.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. I have nothing to report since I just got appointed to this chair.
Thank you. Safety Service Committee, Mr. Creed.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. Safety Service has 5 items on the agenda. First one is item number 2. It's a third read, accepting $10,000 into the Law Enforcement Trust Fund from a donation. That the name for that donation is on the original request for any council members who want to look at that. Next one is item number 3, is also a third read, and that's appropriating $19,130.81 from the ARPA money for police officers. Appreciate your vote on that when time comes up. Next one is item number 4. It's an ordinance appropriating $20,000 for the purchase and replacement on guardrails along Carlisle Hill, which that needs done, obviously. So appreciate your vote on that as well. Next one is item number 11, and that's an ordinance appropriating $7,924.90 to purchase 5 laptop computers for the law director's office to replace the ones that they currently have. That one can go to the next read. And then item number 12 is an ordinance providing for an agreement between the City of Chiillicothe and Ross County Commissioners for reimbursement costs incurred for appointing counsel for indigent criminal defendants, and that can go on to the additional reads as well. We had a committee meeting also for Safety Service, discussed 2 items. First one of those is 25-050, and that was to accept and appropriate $720 from the Ohio Attorney General's office for updates for them to be able to report directly to BCI. And they need to get that moving along as quickly as possible because they have to have that in place by this fall. So we will put emergency language on that and ask to waive the 3-read rule when appropriate. Next one is 25-052, and that is to appropriate an additional $30,000 for fire department vehicle repairs. They currently have outstanding bills in that area, so we voted to move that forward, and we'll put emergency language on that as well. And we'll probably ask to waive the 3-read rule so we can get those bills paid as well. That concludes our report.
Thank you. Utilities Committee, Mr. McKeever.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. Utilities has 4 items on the agenda for tonight. First was number 5, which is the second read of an ordinance amending section 9111606B1 of the City Chiillicothe codified ordinances upon recommendation of the Ohio Environmental Protection Agency. Number 7, which is a second read for a resolution authorizing the city of Chiillicothe to enter into a substantial Ohio Public Energy Council, the execution and delivery of an agreement establishing SOPEC and approving the bylaws of the SOPEC. Number 9, first read of an ordinance amending the utilities cross connection and backflow prevention policy in compliance with the Ohio Administrative Code. Number 10, which is an ordinance, first read for ordinance reallocating funds from the sewer capital project titled Generator to the Marietta Lift Station Improvement Project. The utilities had 2 committee meetings earlier. First one was assignment 25045, which is a recommendation of the Water Rate Review Committee annual review. The committee's request to increase the water rates by 2% pursuant to Chapter 91508B of the City Codified Ordinance. The committee unanimously approved this assignment to be moved on to the Law Director's Office and for the City Council, Full Council. Second one is 25049, which is a request to accept the appropriation of our Congressional Directed Spending CDS award in the amount of $3.5 million from the Ohio Environmental Protection Agency, the OPEA, for the construction of the wastewater treatment plant. And to comply with the construction deadlines, Mayor Feeney's request that emergency language be added to that. This assignment was also approved unanimously by the committee, and we're moving forward to the Law Director and Full Council. That concludes my report.
Thank you. City Services Committee, Ms. Preston.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. City Services has nothing on the agenda and has no current assignments. Therefore, I do not have a report. Thank you.
Thank you. Community Affairs Committee, Ms. Bennett.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. We don't have anything on the agenda tonight, but we did have a meeting that we're going to start the 5-year plan to develop for the housing situation in Chiillicothe. That's the end of my report.
Thank you. Now turning to reports of officials. There's no one here from the mayor's office, so I'll turn to Auditor Spetnagel.
Well, first of all, I did pass out the April financial statements, so you should have those in your inbox. If you have any questions, let me know. And then I just want to announce that we will be having a public hearing on the tax budget on June 9th at 6:45, right before council. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Mr. Miller from the Law Director's Office.
Thank you, Mr. President. Nothing official to report, but the Law Director's Office is aware of certain referrals to committee that we were courtesy copied on back in mid-April. So we'll be expecting those to come forth from committee whenever committee meets and discusses those things. We're prepared to address those things as of that point. And as always, I'm just here to avail myself to any questions that I can answer. Thank you.
Is that an offer of free legal advice? Well, I shouldn't ask that question. Okay, we'll move on to audience participation. Any person wishing to address the council must first provide his or her name and address. Comments should be limited to 5 minutes, and I'll give you a warning when there is 1 minute remaining.
Good evening. My name is John Thacker. I live at 990 Columbus Street, apartment 307 in Chiillicothe. I wanted to first mention that I am certainly happy that the assignment that Councilmember Bennett spoke about for the community affairs is being processed. I did note that I didn't receive any notification of the actual meeting, and so was unprepared to contribute in any significant way other than just hearing what was going on. I realize there are going to be more meetings about that down the road. Certainly when you're talking about a 5-year plan, you won't be concluding it in one night. But I just don't know how, if either I wasn't looking or you snuck it in on me without me realizing. Okay, that's probably why I was here, but you know, I didn't go back and listen to the recording, whoever's doing it. Second thing is that at the last meeting, now that you refer to it, we had a conclusion to the ordinance 555 that did not go to my liking. It was not a surprise. However, I think that I don't like to single out people, but I'm particularly disappointed in Mr. Dement's vote that was changed from a no to a yes. Personally, I don't feel like it shows steel and grit to change your mind based upon what your party tells you you have to do, if that's what happened. Perhaps I'm misjudging the circumstances. I don't know. I don't know what goes on behind the scenes on your side of the aisle. I know that if something like that were to come to me from my party, I would say, tough, I already know what's right. And maybe that's what will happen in the future. We do have that this whole ordinance 555 is certainly not concluded. As you well know, there's an effort to override the override, if you want to call it that, and it will proceed. And I think there may be people here who have petitions to sign. Since a number of you believe that the community wants the changes that you voted for, feel free to see me after this meeting and I can have you sign my petition so it can be voted on. I'd be happy to, assuming, of course, all of you are registered voters. I think you are. And that's it. Thank you.
My name is Tana Sidrus. I live at 415 Lundbeck Road. At the last meeting, I mentioned an idea of coffee with council to help with communication and help bring about awareness and make more people more comfortable with attending meetings. I am still in the works for that. We do have a location that the owner of Chiillicothe said that we could attend there if we wanted to. My next thing that I wanted to mention, I have been talking for a few years now about the need for people to have more awareness when it comes to voting. They need to know how to find proper sources. They need to understand the election process. I pulled up the report for the statistics for Ross County on the election of May 6th. And it says that out of the 46,676 voters, the total ballots cast was 3,009. That would be 6.45%. Originally my idea was to focus on college age, but with a turnout like that, I can't just assume that it's just young generation. I have been talking to a few politicians and some professors up at OUC wanting to do kind of a, this is probably not a nice way to put it, but Voters for Dummies course, basically, kind of helping people to become more aware of the process, because I know most of my peers that I talk to, when they say that they don't vote and I ask why, it's they don't see a point in it or they just don't understand the process, so why would they put their input in? So moving from my idea of a college-focused course, if you will, I would like to work on doing an open public, all ages, because I would really love to see higher voter turnout. If that is something that I can get established with OUC, I was wondering if any of you would be interested in participating, because I would like, my goal for this is not to persuade people on how to vote. My goal is to show people how to vote. And it doesn't matter what party you are from. I would just really love any help that you guys would be able to provide. So that's it.
Hello, hello. My name is AJ Tainer. I live at 81 North Paint Street, apartment 2B. First off, love you, love everything you're doing. get with the League of Women Voters because they have a voter education group. Absolutely going to be a great resource for that. And I love the idea that City Council is going to be working with my friend to do coffee with council, and is going to be helping with voter registration and voter education. That is an incredible thing, and I think it's going to work out really well for our community. I'm speaking right now about as always transparency. City Council has been doing a lot better with posting their meetings and with live streaming. I'm pretty sure today's live stream started around like 5 o'clock. All right, not funny. I tried. I wanted to mention that as you all know, I'm with the Chiillicothe City Trackers. So I wanted to mention that I have observers reports that I'm going to be handing out at all City Council meetings going forward, and I'd love to have City Council members filling these out as well. It's just a quick questionnaire, like, was everybody present? Was there enough seats? Was there a lot of citizen participation, a lot of citizens present, that kind of thing? I just think by doing these reports, it's going to be a great way to show voters and citizens in general, hey, Ms. Preston showed up to every meeting, or maybe Mr. Barnes has missed half of them, or hey, here's the tendency for voting yes, voting no, things like that. Just a general record that will be easy for people to look forward to. I think it'd be amazing, and obviously we're going to have citizens filling these out, but I think it'd also be really well City Council doing it and grading themselves as well. Well, I do have more copies here as well. I unfortunately did run I unfortunately did run out of clipboards, but I will have more next time, and I have pens for you as well. I just want to keep working with you all to increase transparency. I'm really looking forward to hopefully working with Mr. Griesheimer with the film committee, to start filming these and live streaming them more and just doing everything better. And I want to work with you all, and I can't wait to do so. Thank you.
I'm sure that Councilman Barnes would have rather you used me as the example of not being here, but that's okay. We'll move on from there.
Jamie Brown, 98 Douglas Avenue. I come with some celebration news. I plan to send kind of a white paper report later on, but just kind of a amateur report for your investment in some Sojourner youth last fall. So we used the funds approved by the City Council through the One Ohio Fund to open up 11 spots for our Youth Build program. We are happy to report that all 11 will graduate. Something to keep in mind is those 11. Yeah, thank you. Something to keep in mind, all 11 of those folks were not on path to graduate. And so I would just reiterate, in these times of disagreement and contention, I like to just kind of follow data a lot. And so just a couple numbers for you. For every dollar you put into workforce development, we got a new number from the Department of Labor. Upwards to $8 is returned in tax revenues from workers. So I think especially, I actually think I heard it mentioned here at a meeting, this crisis in water treatment, right? I was having a conversation with my brother yesterday. There's this notion, oh, it's a job no one wants to do, or all those things. But really, it's just a job no one knows about, right? And I think I like having clean water. And so I'm hoping that, like water treatment positions, we are working together aggressively to spend those dollars in a productive way. I think spending those dollars in youth workforce development is probably the best way to do that. But wanted to just come here and report. July 12th, I would love to invite everyone here. Celebration of Success. That is our, a lot of our folks have already like walked with their homeschool and graduation, but that's a more kind of intimate moment. A lot of these folks come from communities where, lots of reasons why they might come to an alternative education experience. So we do, it's called a Celebration of Success. We do that every year. Would love to invite city council, all elected officials, also anyone in the audience. If you are free, June 12th, these folks need all the support they can get to celebrate their success. For 11 of these folks, they made it through high school, which was a big success for them. So thank you. It will start at 6 o'clock, June 12th. I believe that's a Thursday. We're actually going to do it at Walnut Street United Methodist Church, so just right down the road here. But I wanted to say thank you for your investment, and I look forward to y'all keeping that up. But thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you. If there is no further audience participation, we'll now move on to old business. Is there any old business to come before the council? Hearing none, we'll move on to petitions and correspondence. I'll turn to the clerk.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. I've not received anything.
We'll now move to new business. Is there any new business to come before council? I just, in tune with what Jamie had said, I have a celebration. Dr. John Gavis of Adena was selected as one of 5 finalists for essentially the Ohio Hospital Association Healthcare Worker of the Year. And I think that's something that we can celebrate here in this area, that we've got someone who was selected out of the entire state. So just wanted to mention that. And if there is no further new business, we'll now turn to the reading of ordinances and resolutions.
All right, we have 17 ordinances on our agenda this evening. Item number 1 is the third reading of an ordinance appropriating $9,520 to cover costs associated with the city's participation in the Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission 2025 Local Government Intern Program.
Clerk will call the roll.
Bennett.
Yes.
Payne.
Yes.
Barnes.
Yes.
McKeever.
Yes.
Dement.
Yes.
Preston. Yes.
Dunn.
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
The ordinance is adopted. Next ordinance.
Item number 2 is the third reading of an ordinance accepting and appropriating funds in the amount of $10,000 into the Law Enforcement Trust Fund.
Clerk will call the roll.
Bennett.
Yes.
Payne.
Yes.
Barnes.
Yes.
McKeever.
Yes.
Dement.
Yes.
Preston.
Yes.
Dunn.
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
Ordinance is adopted. Next ordinance.
Item number 3 is the third reading of an ordinance appropriating $19,130.81 from unappropriated American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, Violent Crimes Grant Funds to cover costs for payroll purposes of ARPA designated police officers.
Clerk will call the roll.
Bennett.
Yes.
Payne.
Yes.
Barnes.
Yes.
McKeever.
Yes.
Dement.
Yes.
Preston.
Yes.
Dunn.
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
Ordinance is adopted. Next ordinance.
Item number 4 is the third reading of an ordinance appropriating $20,000 for the purchase of replacement guardrails along Carlisle Hill.
Clerk will call the roll.
Bennett.
Yes.
Payne.
Yes.
Barnes.
Yes.
McKeever.
Yes.
Dement.
Yes.
Preston. Dunn.
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
Ordinance is adopted. Next ordinance.
Item number 5 is the second reading of an ordinance amending section 911.16.06B1 of the Chiillicothe Codified Ordinances upon recommendation of the Ohio Environmental Protection Agency.
Ordinance will move to the next agenda. Next ordinance.
Item number 6 is the second reading of an ordinance appropriating $9,000 to purchase additional traffic equipment for Ohio Department of Transportation Bridge Street project.
Ordinance will move to the next agenda. Next ordinance.
Item number 7 is the second reading of a resolution authorizing the City of Chiillicothe to enter into the Sustainable Ohio Public Energy Council, the execution and delivery of the agreement establishing SOPEC, and approving the bylaws of SOPEC.
The resolution will move to the next agenda.
Item number 8 is the first reading of an ordinance appropriating $160,000 to complete the salt storage facility project at 415 Rennick Avenue and declaring an emergency.
Mr. McKeever?
President Shoemaker, this time I'd like to request a waive the 3-read rule on this ordinance.
And seconded by Ms. Preston. The clerk will call the roll relative to the waiver of the 3-read rule.
Bennett?
Yes.
Payne?
Yes.
Barnes?
Yes.
McKeever?
Yes.
Dement?
No. Yes. Sorry. Yes.
Preston?
Yes.
Dunn?
Yes.
Creed?
Yes.
The 3-read rule is waived, and I'll ask the clerk to call the roll relative to the ordinance.
Bennett?
Yes.
Payne?
Yes.
Barnes?
Yes.
McKeever?
Yes.
Dement?
Yes.
Preston?
Yes.
Dunn?
Yes.
Creed?
Yes.
Ordinance is adopted. Next ordinance.
Item number 9 is the first reading of an ordinance amending the Utilities Department cross-connection and backflow prevention policy in compliance with the Ohio Administrative Code.
The ordinance will move to the next agenda. Next ordinance.
Item number 10 is the first reading of an ordinance reallocating funds from the sewer capital project titled Generator to the Marietta Lift Station Improvements Project.
The ordinance will move to the next agenda. Next ordinance.
Item number 11 is the first reading of an ordinance appropriating $7,924.90 to purchase 5 laptop computers for the Law Director's Office.
The ordinance will move to the next agenda. Next ordinance.
Item number 12 is the first reading of an ordinance providing for an agreement between the City of Chiillicothe, Ohio, and the Ross County Commissioners, whereby the City of Chiillicothe, Ohio, will continue to be eligible through 2026 for state reimbursement of costs incurred in appointing counsel for indigent criminal defendants.
The ordinance will move to the next agenda. Next ordinance.
Item number 13 is the first reading of an ordinance appropriating $40,000 for the purchase of furniture and other office equipment for the City of Chiillicothe Maintenance Garage located at 400 East 7th Street and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Creed.
Yes, President Shoemaker, I'd like to make a motion to waive the 3-read rule.
Second by Ms. Bennett. The clerk will call the roll relative to the waiver of the 3-read rule.
Bennett?
Yes.
Payne?
Yes.
Barnes?
Yes.
McKeever?
Yes.
Dement?
Yes.
Preston?
Yes.
Dunn?
Yes.
Creed?
Yes.
The 3-read rule is waived. The clerk will now call the roll relative to the ordinance.
Bennett?
Yes.
Payne?
Yes.
Barnes?
Yes.
McKeever?
Yes.
Dement?
Yes.
Preston?
Yes.
Dunn?
Yes.
Creed?
Yes.
Ordinance is adopted. The next resolution.
Item number 14 is the first reading of a resolution formally establishing the City of Chiillicothe non-residential building department pursuant to Section 3781.10A of the Ohio Revised Code and declaring an emergency.
Mr. McKeever.
President Shoemaker, I'd like to make a motion this time to waive the 3-read rule.
Is there a second? Second by Ms. Dunn. The clerk will call the roll relative to the waiver of the 3-read rule.
Bennett,
Yes.
Payne,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Creed,
Yes.
The three read rule is waived. The clerk will call the roll relative to the resolution.
Bennett,
Yes.
Payne,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
Resolution is adopted. The next resolution.
Item number 15 is the first reading of a resolution authorizing the appropriation of funds in the amount of $7,605 as participating local funds for the Ohio Valley Regional Development Commission on behalf of the City of Chiillicothe for fiscal year 2026 and declaring an emergency.
Yes, President Shoemaker, I'd like to make a motion to waive the three read rule so we can meet the June 6th deadline.
Second by Ms. Payne. The clerk will call the roll relative to the waiver of the three read rule.
Bennett,
Yes.
Payne,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
Three read rule is waived. The clerk will call the roll relative to the resolution.
Bennett,
Yes.
Payne,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
Resolution is adopted. Next ordinance.
Item number 16 is the first reading of an ordinance appropriating $146,032.67 to pay for the City of Chillicothe's share of a previous Ohio Department of Transportation Western Avenue safety project.
The ordinance will move to the next agenda. The next ordinance.
Item number 17 is the first reading of an ordinance appropriating $60,000 to pay for emergency medical services, mutual aid invoices submitted by surrounding townships for EMS coverage within the city limits and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Creed.
President Shoemaker, I'd like to make a motion to waive the three read rule so we can pay the outstanding bills.
Second by Ms. Payne. The clerk will call the roll relative to the waiver of the three read rule.
Bennett,
Yes.
Payne,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
The three read rule is waived. The clerk will call the roll relative to the ordinance.
Bennett,
Yes.
Payne,
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Barnes,
Myself. Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
Ordinance is adopted. If there's no other business come before the council, I would ask for a motion to adjourn. Motion by Ms. Bennett and a second by Ms. Payne. The clerk will call the roll.
Bennett,
Yes.
Payne,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
The meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.